everyone, Stippling here with a review on the LEGO Club exclusive Bionicle Combi-Build. This week, LEGO came out with 2 instruction sets for 2 combination builds, or 2 TOA, one for Kopaka and Gali, and the other for Tahu and Pohatu. Last time I showcased Unity 2 featuring Tahu and Pohatu. If you haven't seen that video yet, I encourage you to watch that. Overall, I was not impressed with the combination, and I'm really hoping that this one is better than the first. This time, we will be building and reviewing Unity 1 featuring Kopaka and Gali. As always, let's start off by taking a look at our parts. Now that we have all our parts out and ready to go, let's see what this thing makes. There he is, all built up, and wow, I'm impressed. I did not know what to expect with this thing after seeing the other one, but I am pleasantly surprised. His build was fun. At times it got a little challenging even with the weapon construction, which had so much into it. They had to have designed that weapon first and then built something else around it. I'm going to go through each individual section here in a moment, but I just want you to take in everything he has. He really reminds me of almost like a grandfather Winter of Kopaka, something elderly but still strong and powerful. He really has that presence, that burly presence of power within him. Looking first at the feet, there's really not all that much to see here, but what's really impressive is the construction of the shin region of him. They actually use those small feet from Hero Factory that became protector feet. They use those as almost like a back region, kind of like a dressing on the back with a little bit of icicles flowing down from it. And what's really interesting is that it actually connects so well with the 2016 piece of unification. What I did find odd though is there's an open axle on both sides that could easily be filled with an available 3-length Technic axle. Why they didn't put it in there, I guess it wasn't really necessary, but it just seemed kind of silly to me to leave that entire connection down to one piece, when in reality they could easily solidify that entire construction by putting that axle that was already in the parts count. Moving on to the upper leg, there's not much to see here either. The construction's pretty similar to what they did with the Unity 2, where they took a lot of the arm elements and put them into the legs. And it looks fine, there's nothing wrong with it. It blends very well into the kneecap area from gold to trans blue. Moving on ahead to the chest, this is where things get really interesting, and the only real way to show it to you would be by removing some of these elements. With that front chest plate removed, you can really see the construction of this chest, which is strange. It really is confusing at the beginning. What ends up happening is you build a lot of the construction at an angle. You can actually see that connection, that angled region here, and how that connects into the whole upper torso region. And it really seamlessly connects, and what ends up happening is you're creating almost rolled back shoulders, which is very, very strange and unique of a build, but that's really what this new 2016 torso allows. It allows for these unconventional construction methods because of the lack of extra ball joints. Looking just a little bit higher to the shoulder region, you can see that those are connected separately, and how they're connected is also pretty strange. They're connected on these separate ball joints, but if you look at the back how it's connected, it's just connected right in to one pin. One pin is holding that entire construction, and it can swivel quite a bit. You will see there's some oddities here. Oh, lost that. Some oddities in the sense of not only is there a spare pin in there kind of sticking out, there's also an axle sticking out. And that's just a result of lack of available parts. They had to use what they had, and they really wanted to make that connection this way. And it works out just fine. You have so much range of motion, you can really move these shoulders anywhere they need to go to cover up, or even if you like them higher up. I believe in the official photographs they have them a little bit higher up, but I prefer to have them down, kind of making these shoulders big and burly. And while we're looking back here, you can see this region here. It's almost it gives him almost a hunchback appearance, which we'll talk about the weapon in a little bit. It kind of goes well with the cane-like weapon he has. It really gives him some age to him and makes him look a little hunched over. And once again, speaking to age, you can see on his face he has the typical monocle, but this monocle actually has a little chain attached to it, which gives the illusion of, I don't know, he looks like the Peanut guy to me, just sitting there with his monocle and cane. I really think when they designed this, they were thinking of that Planters Peanut mascot. And not only is it hilarious to look at, but it's really looks good too. It fits in well. I contemplate whether a dark blue stud may have exaggerated it a little bit better or worse. I don't know. I guess someone could try it. I don't really have the time to go ahead and put that on at the moment, but it really conveys the sense of age and wisdom to Kopaka, and it takes the element of Gali's wisdom and embeds it into Kopaka's stern, almost isolationist personality. Kopaka's got some interesting weapons this time. We'll start with the less interesting one, which is almost like a tribal cane of sorts. It's got some structures on the side here as well as up top, and it really looks tribal in nature. It's like a totem almost, a totem with a blade connected at the end. But it really looks to it like a cane, putting all the other elements together. He has the appearance of using this as a cane to walk around. This is his tool for combing through the ice caps and trying to do whatever he's doing. Construction-wise, it reminded me a lot of the weapon that the Tahu Unity 2 had. Similar construction where you're building both ways using this Unity piece in the middle. I do like this one better overall. Now, I spoke earlier about this weapon, and if you can see it in all its glory, this is perhaps the biggest weapon we've gotten in this reboot franchise, and this thing is crazy impressive. I didn't put the stickers on him because I didn't want to have to peel them off, so I just kept them off. You can kind of use your imagination to see what that would have looked like. It's not going to change anything, but let's just take that weapon off and look at it by itself for a minute. This thing is so large it's actually difficult to catch all in camera, but here it is. It's almost like a sniper rifle looking thing. It really evokes kind of if you can imagine the Covenant weapons of Halo, it kind of has that feel to it where it's definitely mechanical, but almost has some synthetic qualities to it. So not only does Kopaka have a gun shield combo, but now he carries a gun shield pincer weapon, if you want to call it a pincer weapon. And it really looks like a sniper rifle. This would be your barrel here. This would be your, I guess, 6-pointed scope. And this would be your handle region here. And the whole thing is constructed with this Technic construction that is really impressive to look at. But it also has a function to it. 2 functions, in fact. The first is the typical 6-shooter function. I'll shoot one of those off. Yep, that's what that does. And it's loaded in a really long way. It goes all the way from back here. This is the point of rotation where it spins the axle, and that's really cool. It gives you really, you can aim and shoot kind of thing. The bigger these get, the more they feel like a real weapon in a kid's hands, which I guess is a good thing. I don't know. But the real pride and joy of this would have to be the pincer function, which I did not expect at all. I had no idea this was coming. And you can see it already. This thing opens up. It opens and closes in a snapping function like a crab. So once again, Golly's sneaking her way into this build. Her aquatic nature is coming through. But it's not just open and closing, it actually is geared. So this thing can be twisted here and open and shut like so. And you even hear that clapping motion of a claw hitting itself. And this thing has a really wide radius that it can go around. It can go all the way almost 180 degrees and then clamp shut. So it really can take up a lot of space. Unlike some of the 2015 larger weapons, Kopaka here can actually hold this weapon without any struggle at all. He just has one friction extender and he can hold it out pretty much as far as his arm goes without any sort of strain on the joints. I can actually push on this without even moving the ball joint at all. One thing I do want to point out is just like the other Unity model, Grandpaka here cannot unify. So Mellum's gonna have to just walk next to him because he's too old to have him on his back. Putting Grandpa Kopaka next to the 2016 Kopaka, you can see that they kind of harken back to each other. They still have a very similar construction. The 2016 official Kopaka just kind of looks like a more spindly version of this guy. This guy looks more beefed up, more toughened by the elements, and ready to do battle. This guy has very gangly arms and looks like he's still awaiting the moment when he's in his prime. Golly's contributions are a little bit harder to discern from this overall construction. You can see that the orange comes from her and a lot of the regular blue colors, but these two constructions are on a completely different zip code. They are not similar. This combination model makes no attempts to look like Golly. It just takes her parts and makes a better Kopaka. While we're on the subject of parts, here are all the parts that are remaining from the two boxes. As you can see, there are quite a number of parts left despite the increased size of this combination model. This time I'd say it's a little bit more even of a playing field of what's left between the two, but Kopaka had an advantage, namely due to the fact that he had two figures in his construction and both are used in the combination model. This is a good time to point out that it's a little bit unfair to compare Unity 2 to Unity 1 because of the sheer number of extra parts that the developers had when they were making this creation. So while Unity 1 definitely has my vote as the better set, you kind of have to deduct some points due to more available parts. So while this combination model is far from perfect, you gotta give it credit for what it's done. It's created something different that is also exciting and interesting. It uses unique builds and a unique weapon to really portray something different. Grandpa Kopaka does have some weird color scheme going on with all the different ranges of blue and the randomly placed orange, but you can never really judge a combination model too harshly just by color scheme alone. These two sets weren't made to be together, so for someone to create something that looks as cohesive as this does, it's pretty impressive. This model definitely has my vote of the two as being the better of the Unity modes. With some slight changes in parts, you could really have this as a display piece and be pretty proud of it. I'm really interested to see what you all think of this set. Is it as great as I make it seem, or am I just so distracted by how bad the other one was that this one seems great by comparison? Gotta love that monocle though, right? Leave your comments down below and don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. Thanks for watching!